here with Paul King, who is joining us from Florida, and Richard Morant, who is in Oklahoma. I'm Shona
Oh,
Lee Lang. No, are you not in Oklahoma?
oh
Are
yeah,
you in
I'm in.
Oklahoma? Oh,
I'm just saying
you
hi.
can't you can't just jump in like that. And then I'm Shauna. I'm in California tonight, and we are waiting for Kenneth Pasmino to join us. And Kenneth is trying to reach us from New York City, but encountering some technical difficulties. So we're going to go straight to Paul. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm definitely ready.
We're going to tell you a little bit about Paul in just a little bit. But here we go with the questions. Question number one.
This is like a game show. You just started right out.
Except,
This is
except
what
there's
I
no
found.
money. There's no
Oh, I
money.
watched. It was fantastic. Okay, go.
Sandbox or Decentraland?
Well, either have their. That's really tough. If you're looking at the token, they're both pretty equal right now. Not in price wise, but in the growth of the token itself. Uh, I would think that the sandbox has more room to grow than Decentraland. If you talk to people, they had Decentraland is kind of like the Central. They heard of Decentraland. It's almost like NBA Top Shot in a sense. Um, I think both are going to do fantastic over the next years, really. And even though I'm an NFT guy and not necessarily a meta guy, um, I see Decentraland winning the race between the two. That doesn't say that the sandbox doesn't have a lot of room to grow. After Meta, Facebook, released their new name and everything else, all the tokens went crazy, right? Everybody started buying those because all of a sudden they saw an opportunity. I mean, these are people that never had heard of the metaverse before Facebook, with its 1 billion people, changed their name globally to Meta. And once that happened, they thought, well, okay, there's an opportunity here token wise. Decentraland, I think, is probably
Yeah, there
going
it
to
is.
win. Hi.
Hey,
Hey,
Kenny.
Uh,
Kenneth.
We
uh,
just asked. We just asked the question: Decentraland or Sandbox? And
yeah,
Paul thinks Decentraland might
thanks.
win. Go on with your thought.
Yeah, I think Decentraland might win, if only because when you talk to other people, you've got NBA Top Shot, you've got the Bored Apes, and then there's everything else. That's not to say that the tokens of each of them won't continue to grow and go higher. I think Richard's call a few weeks ago about Selenium being at the exact point right now that Ethereum was at in 2017. That's kind of where I see both of them. Saul is obviously going to do that curve that he was talking about on this show a couple of weeks ago. I think both of those are going to do the exact same curve. I just think that Decentraland, because of branding or the marketing that they've done, maybe the longevity that they have, is going to win. But in a metaverse world, which is not the world that I necessarily stay in, they both have a lot of opportunity.
Okay. So, Kenny, we're gonna welcome you. We're so glad you could join us. And I'll hit you with question number two. Are you ready?
Sure,
Can you hear us?
I
Okay.
can.
Okay. Question number two: Bitcoin or Ethereum?
Oh man, that's a for right now. I think that Ethereum could definitely take the cake, only because there's so much hype within all of these spaces with like MetaMask and everything that there's I feel like much more of a demand for Ethereum than for Bitcoin. Right now, Bitcoin is still the biggest player that you can jump on, but that being said, everybody has to buy Ethereum to get any one of these NFTs, to be honest. So I really think that that's going to be the uh, the kicker. And then you see the memes that it's going to go to 10K, but I don't think 10K. I think it's going to go somewhere, but I think Ethereum is taking the cake right now.
Okay, Richard, you don't get away scot free.
I tried.
So he's frozen on my end. Third question: Zuckerberg or Gates?
I'm a bit of the older school. I'm always going to be a Gates fan over a Zuckerberg fan. What he did originally and the way he's done philanthropy over the years, as I said, being from South Africa and see what Gates has done for malaria and research into the diseases and so on, and the money that's gone into places outside of Africa. That for me has been good to kind of watch. I'm not sure what Zuckerberg's interests and motivations are at the end of the day, and that concerns me. I don't see where he wants to take the metaverse, and it concerns me that they've made that large a play this early in the game into it. So I'm very interested to watch what happens.
Okay, back to you, Paul. We'll go round robin. Unfortunately, Paul gets the next hard question. I'm sorry to say.
That's fine.
Regulated or unregulated metaverse?
There has to be a teensy bit of regulation. How that works, I don't really have an answer for that. Ultimately, I think like right now we live in a world of DAOs, right? The decentralized organizations. They are a regulation unto themselves, right? In other words, they're trying to buy a concept. Like just last week, they tried to buy the United States Constitution that was on sale. Now, that was a group of people, right, that put their money together and tried to buy that in order to regulate how the Constitution would be used in that sense. If you're talking government regulation, I think it needs to be very minimal at the most, because I think that the people, and especially right now, the rules are being made right now. There are no rules to anything. The rules are being created as we are sitting here now. And I think that people have, at this particular moment in time, good intentions towards building a system that regulates itself. Now, that doesn't say that government, in some sense, would not have to come in later on and create some kind of regulations. But right now, I'm thinking the DAOs that are building now and buying now and buying up things now are going to be self-regulated well enough. By the time the government does step into a regulation in the metaverse, it will be very minimal because we will have regulations worked out in a larger sense.
Okay.
I have one thing to bring in, though. I'd like to add on to this one. For the one thing I love about the metaverse is it's transborder. So where do you regulate the metaverse? I think becomes a bigger question than how, because what are we going to start doing with regulations from South Africa, from Nigeria, from England, from Germany, from America? Whose regulations are we going to adhere to? Or is there going to be something that's going to have to be defined across border acceptance? And then we start getting into some very dicey questions because we can't even decide what to do with it in our own country, let alone how we want to integrate with that with a different country. I mean, we've already seen the what doors we've opened with Facebook to foreign, all kinds of persuasive things and issues that have happened because we opened the border with Facebook. we're moving into another system that makes that transparency between nations a little bit more fraught now because it's truly open. So that's the question I have for Kenny then. How do you see that happening and the trans-border question going forward?
Well, see, the metaverse being so vast as it is, or since it's still in its infancy stage, I think the only way that it can be governed, if any, would be the companies regulating themselves. So, if you say that Unity is creating their own software and developers are just coming in and then they're creating their own little mini worlds within that world, they would be able to, they would essentially have to regulate themselves, I feel. Because then, you have ordered chaos if you don't.
But we've done such a fabulous job of regulating ourselves already. I mean, we've done such a stellar job of regulating ourselves, haven't we?
But then are we leaving ourselves in a gap where we're regulated by companies that have a profit incentive? Then what happens to the regulation if it's only driven inside communities to a single source of profit, like Meta?
Was that directed at me or like everybody else?
No,
that makes total sense. I mean, if they're gonna build a platform, they're gonna build it so that way they can make money, and they're gonna set their own rules the same way that Facebook has their own Facebook police, and you can't necessarily say something that's outside of their norm.
Mm-hmm.
So now if they create those guidelines that, okay, we've created this metaverse for you, then you're going to have to toe a line if you want to stay here. I personally think that that's how something like that can go down.
Shona, what do you think?
Well, I'm for regulation if it comes into play with amount of usage. I would definitely want to see some usage restraints, particularly with people under the age of 18. I don't necessarily want to see them on the internet 24 hours a day. But it's interesting because here we have an environment where we have a DeFi culture that was designed for the ability to be able to track and account for all transactions across the blockchain. And that to me seems extremely organized, extremely transparent, extremely, it is what it is. But yet now we have this creative incubator, the metaverse, absent any regulation whatsoever. And that to me seems like a very interesting paradox. So be curious to see where it all goes. Yeah. Okay, Paulie, you're up. And by the way, for those just joining us, Paul King is newly arriving in Florida. He just came out of Tennessee. He had a 14-hour trip, I believe he told me.
That is correct.
And Paul is the originator of two entities. Maybe before I ask my question, you can tell us a little bit about what each of these entities does. NFT Creative Group is one, and then PFP Daily is a second of Paul's creations. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish with those?
Yeah, certainly. NFT Creative Group, in the sense that everyone in the business is looking at the Nikes, the Adidas, and things of that nature, they all look to large businesses first. I'm a very big believer in small business. Small Business Saturday, small businesses run most economies all over the world. And it is my belief that small businesses can participate in this economy in NFTs. And even though it's very new, they don't have the kind of knowledge that it takes in order to get into NFTs and servicing their clients in a way that can help them do that. And that's what Creative Group is really about. It's to help small businesses. PFP Daily is kind of along the same lines. There is a lot of NFT, Metaverse, Web3 news that is geared towards Apple did this today, Tesla did that, things of that nature. Very hard hitting news sources. PFP Daily is really driven towards entertainment first and then education later. In that sense, that people can just, that are interested in NFTs in a peripheral sense, even because there's millions of people that have not been onboarded currently. They can just come and be entertained first. And that's what PFP Daily does, is just entertain. And we still talk about NFTs and blockchain, things of that nature, the things that we talk about now. But it's for the millions of people that don't want the hard hitting news right off the bat. That's what PFP Daily does. It entertains first. There's also educational element to it so that they can learn how to set up a MetaMask and how to buy Ethereum or Bitcoin for the first time.
And you're drawing the main characters. You're
These
creating
are,
them.
that is a great question because I get asked that a lot. They're not drawn for me and they are not drawn by another artist. Every character in the script is an NFT that I personally bought. Thousands of dollars worth of NFTs go into the production of each of the shows on PFP Daily. So, Doc's World, all NFTs. PFP Daily Comics is all an NFT that I bought and put together into a series. That's a great question, Shauna, and I appreciate you asking that because we didn't talk about that in advance.
We did, and I just think it's so charming because you have characters that are eating pizza and characters that are yelling across the room. It's very relatable, and it's
Yeah,
very charming. So
they're all
Kenny,
NFTs. They're all paid for NFTs that I bought on the open system.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So Kenny, tell us a little bit. You are coming to us tonight from New York City, and tell us about the Idiot's Guide to the Metaverse.
So I am probably the biggest idiot that I know, in the sense that I had a chance to buy so much land on Decentraland. I had the chance to buy so many different NFTs, and I had a chance to buy Bitcoin when it was literally still $1. And over the years, I've accumulated my idioticness and my stupidity in staying away from the trend. And now I am gearing towards just following the trend. And it's the only way that I see that it's the future of money, I feel like. And what I'm really going to be focusing on is where big money puts their money in, so that way you can follow their trends and everything. So I focus mainly on like stock market news, and crypto. So I will be talking about a lot of these companies. So you have like the Meta ETF, which has like Roblox, Nvidia, Unity, Meta, as well as a bunch of other companies, Amazon, and I think Apple is in there too. So all of these companies are gearing up to do something absolutely massive, and they're all doing it behind closed doors. So as soon as like news comes out, I would definitely like to jump on that, show charts when it comes to the stock market as well as crypto, which ones are dealing specifically metaverse related content. So that way it is only central to that. And that's why I really called it an idiot's guide, because at this point I could have been, or at least if anybody jumped in when they said that they wanted to jump into, they would have all been millionaires at this point.
It's never
So
too late. It's
no,
never
you're
too late.
absolutely 1,000% right.
Today's the day. It's never
Yeah,
too late,
for
especially
sure.
with Sandbox next week. We can come back and report to us on what you thought about how Sandbox did or didn't do after we see the 29th go by. Richard, you have a phenomenal photography show right now broadcasting on the Meta Biennale with Artgate. This is a collection of 16 images that you have created and assembled lovingly and with great care. Can you tell us how the Meta Biennale is going for you, which is a virtual VR art exhibition through Oculus? So tell us a little bit how that's going.
It's been incredible to actually be able to interact with people online. I mean, normally you put up a gallery online and people walk through it and you don't see anything of it. It was incredible to actually be in the metaverse and be able to talk to people from. I mean, I remember the panel on Saturday night. We sat with, I think there were 12 countries in 12 people in the metaverse sitting in the gallery having a discussion about what if NFTs are going to mean for artists going forward. And to have some of the top name artists who've been in galleries and who've been working as artists for 40 years who are now starting to look at NFTs, as well as people like me who've kind of been on the fringe of the metaverse for years, but not really realized that we were in the metaverse, and now kind of making this real transition into it. And to talk to people who are also just starting their journey into what this rabbit hole is. And seeing the amount of both questions that people have to ask and also the lack of answers for those questions that is actually out there. But to have that conversation in virtual reality, in a gallery space, in front of photos that I have curated and taken, that was a really fun experience, and I enjoyed that a lot.
So it strikes me that the four of us here tonight have some commonalities. First of all, we all belong to multiple groups on the internet that are assembling and focusing material and information and latest breaking news. So we are all technologically literate in terms of breaking developments. We have all four of us, been serial entrepreneurs. All four of us have tried many different kinds of things, and some have done well, and some have not done so well. Paul's nodding over there. He can understand that. All four of us have lived in multiple places, not just New York City or Oklahoma or Tennessee or Florida or California. So we all kind of like, we like to stay on the move. Um, we're all over a certain age, which I thought was sort of interesting.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about how we might differ. Tell me, Paul, tell me a little bit about what your average day looks like when you wake up in the morning and how much time you're spending on the internet, how much time you're spending researching this space, how much time, I think it's very true that as an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to manage not only marketing your business, but then putting thought to the foundational development of the business. So, how you're dividing your time that way, and
Mhm.
then how much time you're spending doing projects like you are tonight, where you're giving back to the community and sharing more about yourself and what you're trying to do and how you want to connect. So, walk us through what a normal day looks like for you, and then we'll go around the table. And if you'll each share that, I think that could be maybe illuminating for us.
Okay. 7 a.m. until at least midnight every day. I have two cats, and they typically get up about 5 o'clock and wake me up and go crazy. But I try to wake up at about 7 o'clock and I get started. The first thing that I always do in the morning is post the good morning to the NFT group. Now, for those that are watching or don't know, good morning or GM is a very big deal in the NFT world. If you say good morning, you're likely to get good mornings back. I try to post a panel each and every day, and it's twice a day. I work from 7 to just about midnight, and I spend all day right now. I'm going to be starting other projects and things of that nature soon, but just working on PFP Daily, NFT Creative Group, and Eat Sleep NFT. Because right now we're in such the four of us are in such a growth mode. We're so early that if we grow it now, they will come, right? And so I try to spend every day. Now, what may separate us and non-political, non faith is faith. I pray a lot. I spend most of my day in prayer. Um, but in a work sense, it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's LinkedIn a lot. LinkedIn has really come a long way in this development of NFTs. I used to never go to LinkedIn. I've been a member since 2009. We're streaming on it now. To even talk about NFTs, the metaverse, PFPs, and things of that nature on LinkedIn is amazing to me because I never would have seen myself being here. The fact that you have 30,000 members of the metaverse group is amazing. You said we're all members of various groups. I have about 13 groups that I'm a member of, and it's all based around metaverse, NFTs, PFPs, things of that nature. Um, the community of an NFT is very important. Community is something that you hear all the time in the NFT world, crypto world, or really NFT, PFP world. You've got to stay on top of that community. The problem is I ran out of time every day. Now I know, Shauna, that you don't sleep at all, but at some point I have to sleep. And so I can't hit every group, every Twitter, every Discord.
It's
Like,
impossible. You can't do it. No one
well,
person can.
no, but I think you might because everywhere I look, I see you. Like everywhere, like all the time, every hour, every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes. I'm like, there she is again.
That's just the algorithm. That has nothing to do with me.
I don't
We're
know.
just
There's a lot of
we're just
posts going on.
algorithmically connected.
There's a lot of posts happening here. And so I can't catch it all. And the funny thing is about the posts that you make and the things that you post on the group and on your own personal page is I always think to myself, I got to get back to that. I've got to get back to that. Oh, I don't have time to read that right now. But that's pretty much a day for me. I mean, it literally is 7 a.m. to midnight. I sleep about 5 to 6 hours a night on a typical night. My time schedule is a little messed up, and I'm really, really tired right now. I hope it's not coming through camera, but that's because I moved to Florida just a couple of days ago, and it's been run, 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 go, 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 and ever since then. And tomorrow, at Thanksgiving, I am going to be thankful to take a break,
Yes.
but I'm still going to be working. That's the problem with this industry. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we're so early that if you don't go now, you could be left in a sense behind, but you're not going to be behind because you're so early. And so that's
That
kind of my day.
that's a perfect segue to what Kenny was talking about before. This sort of remorse about I didn't take it seriously and I didn't get
Yeah.
in early enough, and I'll be damned if that's going to happen again, right, Kenny? How are you
Yeah, for sure.
connecting with community, and what does your day look like?
So I have a bunch of discords that I am involved in. I mod. I'm an admin for some, and I talk to people constantly. We're always talking about, like, I'm in a bunch of stock groups, and all I really just focus on is the tech side of it. So I'm always sharing different ideas. We're always talking and really just getting information out to other people that need it or that want it. So that's one of the main focuses that I really try to do. I try to help as many people as I possibly can. Because I kind of feel like this is a brand new religion that's coming up, because you're just literally preaching the word of this is something new. This is something. Just jump into this project, jump into that project. Look at this NFT. Look at what these guys are going to be doing. Like, there's so many cool things that so many people are doing that, and as Paul said, there's not enough time to jump into any into all of them, and and what Richard's doing is pretty cool. Making that digital art gallery is awesome. So you see there's so many things and there's so little time to just talk to people, and there's so many people that are reaching out that want to work with you. They want to do so many different projects, and there's not enough assistance in the world to really just get you where you need to be or want to be.
So I'm wondering, particularly when we talk about NFTs, the aesthetics of the NFT art, as you all know, has a wide array, right? We have simple drawings that are very elementary and simple pixels, all the way to these extremely maturated, multi-layered environments. Can you tell us how you track that?
Well, as a as a former artist, I used to be a tattoo artist, so I used to do so many different. I used to have so many hats. You have to look at things and then just really gauge where the hype is around it. I am also a sneakerhead, so you look at which collaborations are going to be coming out that can potentially be big, which artists are going to be doing what, who's going to be doing what with who. You know, is Kanye going to collab with somebody else? You look at things like that, and then you also have to look at, I guess, like I don't know. I'm sure you guys are familiar now that Kylie Jenner got uh got ousted for trying to buy a bored ape, and you look at things like that. Like bored apes are pretty cool. They're very well drawn. I will say that, and those are selling. Those are trying to be. People are trying to buy them. Now you have other NFTs that are 3D and they're a little bit more in depth. Those are getting sold as well. And then you have like very simple ones like the grumpy cats, like where people are just scooping them up now. So it's all over the place. You have some that are extremely intricate. There are 3D cars that are coming out that are going to be fully interactive. That they're going for such little money that yeah, I have no idea why their mint price is so low, and they put so much time and effort and work into it, and I expect them to go for ridiculous amounts of money. So I I'm just very interested to see how all of this space pans out.
That's an interesting arm to something that I wanted to talk tonight about. Maybe I'll ask Richard this question, since Richard has had uh, quite a bit of experience in the business world as well. You know, we see this escalation of these incredible numbers, numbers that are jaw dropping and phenomenal. But what do you think, Richard, in terms of when we look at the salaries for these creative components and skill sets? So, what I'm talking about are like salaries for the developers or salaries for um, the business relationship people or the content creators or the marketers, or, you know, there's all of these outside of the actual artist who creates the NFT or the artists that work in concert to create a metaverse platform. There's all of these ancillary skill sets and ancillary uh, job opportunities. So, how can we, you know, we've all just shared that we're all struggling 24 hours a day just to keep up with the velocity of this space. How do we also navigate what's the equity there in terms of what do creators deserve to get paid, either on the front end by a company or on the back end through the sale of their NFT? How do you navigate that as you're watching the financial space?
I think this is also a space of learning. I mean, if we're looking at the people that are coming into the space and their age and their experience level with these kind of ideas, a lot of them are very new to it. You know, and we're getting Robin Hoods coming up where millennials are starting to play with options where they can't lose more than they put in. And so there's a lot more experimentation happening out there. And sometimes the fundamentals have become less important in what's happening in trading than the actual volume and the network effect being more a indicator of growth. I'm sure Kenny can play with that a little bit more than I can. But there's definitely a growth in things like you mentioned developers, and those prices and those skill sets are starting to get valued dramatically more at the moment. I mean, I was looking at jobs on LinkedIn the other day for developers, and you're looking 100,000, 140,000 for people who have 2 to 3 years experience in the space. That's not a lot of years that's available that are looking to get that kind of level of job. So I think that's an indication.
Go
Paul,
ahead, Paul.
he
Yep.
looks like something to say there. Please, Paul.
Well, because I own NFT Creative Group, I get messages on LinkedIn every day. And every day there are projects that are looking, because I have blogs on PFP Daily that talk about small business and how a project can go from nothing to an NFT. Every day I am asked, and I say every day, that's probably not an exaggeration. If it's not every day, it's every other day, to take a percentage in somebody's idea, creation, or something else. Well, I try to explain to these people that I cannot invest in their company in that way because time is an investment. And so when they say to me, we'll give you 10% of the mint sale or 15% or 20%, some of them go crazy and say, we're going to mint for 0.05 Ethereum and we'll give you 20% of the mint on the first sale, blah, blah, blah. It gets contractually, crazy, but I still cannot do that. I have to be paid for my time to help them create their NFT. Now, it seems like someone has an idea, and it's something that you actually alluded to. Actually, the two of you alluded to on the first one. Any idea can become an NFT, correct?
Yes.
So if you have an idea like this beverage here, we're going to make 10,000 cups, but they're going to be colored with flags of the world. Then they come and they say to me, just about every day or every other day, we'll give you 10% or 15% of the mint price. Well, that's me investing in their business. I cannot do that. Most people I know cannot do that. And it's the same with like Solidity developers are the hardest thing to find. Now, Richard, you just talked about developers at $100,000. Solidity developers, these are smart contracts. You have a blockchain layer, you have a smart contract on the blockchain layer, and then above that you have the NFT. The people that live between the blockchain and the NFT are the developer, right? They're the ones that code exactly what goes into this NFT so that it is on the blockchain and forever on the blockchain. These people in between here, I'm sure they're asked every day, we'll give you X amount of percent or 10, whatever the percentage is in order to just write our contract. That's all we need is just write our contract and get our website. Most businesses like mine, NFT Creative Group, PFP Daily, we can't do that. We can't invest our time into that type of thing. So I can see, to Richard's point, that prices are going to keep going up. Now, I always say, your first consultation is free. And this is not a plug for me or anybody else. Your first consultation is free. And then it's either going to be 1E or 1.7E a month, the standardized a month, like a marketing contract would be.
Almost
right?
like a retainer. A retainer.
Exactly like a retainer. Shauna, exactly like a retainer. Because investing my time in your great project that you thought of 3 days ago and you need it now, and I'm not insulting anybody that has a great idea. Right now, if you have a great idea, man, power down. But to your question and to Richard's point, the prices are going to keep rising. If anybody remembers, and now that you mentioned, Shauna, that we're a little bit older, and I don't mean to bogart your time, sir, but now that you mentioned we're all here a little bit older, right? We probably lived through the HTML website phase.
We
Do
lived
you
through
remember
Y2K.
how
Let's go back to
expensive
Y2K.
it was to get an HTML website back in the day, 1994, 5, 6, 7? You couldn't even imagine how much money it would cost to do that. Now we live in a quicker time and a quicker time. You know, somebody has an idea 3 days ago and they think, oh my God, you know, this is going to be like $1 million Bored Ape, as you said. It may be a Bored Ape $1 million idea, but I can't invest my time. Richard can't invest his. You can't invest yours, right? Because we've got to get paid at some point. And it can't be on the hope that your business that you own is going to be that business that gets us paid.
Yes, and I would like to add, I'd like to know what you all think of this too, that I think there's a real
Ask
challenge.
him. I just talked a long time. Ask him.
Okay, yeah. There's a real challenge in for the service provider. Let's say all of us at the moment are service providers, helping people to bridge real world to metaverse. Okay, that's all fine and good, except for that it's not just the point in time sale. It's not the point in time sale of today I provided you the service, I educated you, I walked you through the steps, and bing bam boom, tomorrow your project is up as an NFT. It's also the piece of what is the exponential of the valuation increase if your project happens to be successful. And so, by virtue of a one-to-one correlation, if your project does marginally what everybody else does and you walk away with 1E or 2E, good for you, okay, the day's done. But if your project somehow through the miracle of community and Discord and Twitch and stream and everything else under the sun suddenly gets up to 20K or 200 20E or 200E, now we're in a completely different ball game, and there should be some um, consideration for the talent and the time and the energy that all four of us are spending behind the scenes to try to just even be able to operate as a guide through this space. Does that make any sense? And to either of you, to any of you, Kenny, we'll let you have the
Sure
floor.
does. It sure does. I mean, if you're gonna spend your time, you're gonna. I mean, that's why a lot of these crypto companies that I work with, all they do is just focus on advertising. They don't want to make NFTs. They don't want to do anything else like that because the the chance of the chance of making money on that, if you're not being backed by a very 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 large pony, whether it be like a celebrity or multiple celebrities or somebody that's in the know, then it's easier to just make the money off of the back end, which is why you know Paul's focusing on that, and that's why a lot of us have to essentially focus on where we're going to get paid on the front end, so that way we can just walk away knowing if that project did well, it did well. If it didn't, then it didn't, and you got paid nonetheless.
I think
Yeah.
the main thing here for us of who are into the business and so on also know that a lot of these projects aren't going to make it. I mean, let's be completely honest here. I remember being in the New York startup grind and watching the grind of startup ideas that would just come through, and you'd see at these meetings, these people just grind through random silly ideas that get absolutely nowhere, but they still keep on the grind. That's happening in this world as well now, but now all of a sudden you've got a quicker access to people looking to invest in this because of the early stage of it. So there's lots of money out there as well that's looking at all these bad ideas and going, how do we sift through all of this? And I agree with you, Paul. The amount of people that we speak to on a daily basis that are, here's this incredible idea, jump in with us. And I'm like, dude, you haven't thought this all the way through. Those conversations are regular, but there's also those couple of conversations that I've had down the line where I'm like, okay, guys, you got this. This is an interesting idea. This is an infrastructural way that has legs, and I'm much more interested in speaking to the people who are setting up long-term infrastructures at the moment, because individual projects are going to come and go, and those are going to fad, and they're going to move in and out, and they're going to be, this one's going to be fashionable, then that one's going to be fashionable, and that's always going to fluctuate in any art driven market, because what is the fashion of the day? Like, I know photography is going to have a light in the sun, an NFT world at some stage or another. It's too big of a digital art form not, but it hasn't happened yet. Like, there are still trends and cycles that are going to come inside this system that's going to see some very big winners and a lot of people who just disappear. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are jumping into this game and just going, here, I can draw a stick man on this piece of paper, mint it, and make money. And there's that kind of attitude that just throw it on the wall and it's going to make money at the moment because every NFT out there is making money at the moment. And that's not quite the right perception. I mean, quality will out. At the end of the day, the market will say, these assets are usable, these assets are sellable, these assets increase their value, and some of them don't. And if you look at like the startup grind and so on, I think it's more than 90% of the companies that enter the startup world go nowhere. And the same numbers are going to be true for the NFT world, and the same numbers are going to be true for the businesses that start into the metaverse world. And that's got nothing to do with the space that it is. It's just that's the natural attrition rate to people starting things.
Richard,
mm-hmm.
had you drawn, you personally,
mm-hmm.
Richard, had you drawn a VFriends, okay, and that is a stick figure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh, yes, yes.
With VFriends. And this is no offense to Gary. Like, Gary and I are both marketers. We kind of have worked on the same level as chief marketing officer of a restaurant group and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of worked on this particular level. Had you personally drawn, Richard, a VFriends,
mm-hmm.
it would not be successful.
Mm-hmm.
It is a pig that a third grader could possibly draw.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, exactly, a lot of these will fail because, and again, no offense to Gary, but when you see Gary V, the great Gary V Vaynerchuk, create these things on Sketch, and they look like a stick figure, in your words, and they're selling for millions of dollars, you think, oh, well, I can draw a stick figure myself and it will be successful. And guess what? It will not be successful. Now, Gary V cannot take a photo like you can, correct?
Very true.
I should hope not.
It's very true.
Yeah, very true. And so there's value in everything in the NFT and in the crypto world, by the way. What's happening in crypto is just as it is interesting as the NFT, the metaverse, it's all coming together. But Gary cannot take a photo like you. He will not be showing like you. And there's value in that over time to the Gary level. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does.
The stick figure thing just really stuck with me for a second there, because you can't turn a project, you can't turn a pig project into not a pig unless you are a Gary V.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can draw a pig
mm-hmm.
and it be something. That's the world that we live in right now. So
yeah, and if I could interject just a moment, because I want to ask Kenny about, Richard alluded to it as well when he said about this sort of faddish or flash in the frying pan kind of approach. And Kenny, I'm wondering, we've seen some cultural celebrities step forward: Snoop, Paris Hilton, all manner of sports stars, some manner of entertainment stars, musicians. What do you think when you have the opportunity to sit back and reflect on this quick money grab? No disparagement intended to the celebrities that I mentioned, but when you see that and you see uh, an early positioning with a certain um, metaverse, I'm going to go with Sandbox, I'm going to go with Somnium Space, I'm going to go with Decentraland. What
Mhm.
does that tell you as you look at the whole sphere?
That tells me that somebody's paying a lot of money to get the word out. Not only that, but I really feel like some of these people or some of these celebrities really believe in what they're jumping into. So it's like a twofer. It's either they're getting paid or they really do believe that something like this can make money. I just saw that Floyd Mayweather had just jumped into a project. I think it was like WOJ Finance, and it's another crypto project that basically helps people. If you lose money, they basically give some of it back, like in the stock market. So it's kind of weird, but okay, if that's a way that you want to approach a mega athlete like Floyd Mayweather, then he may see value in it. To be honest, so that's how I really look at celebrities jumping into these particular spaces. I
Do
look
you
at it as that. Yeah.
do
Sorry.
you think do you think it lends to this culture of I can jump into NFT and make a million tomorrow? Do you think that the younger set, the upcoming generation, looks at these hero spaces, sees them going in, both feet in the water, and do you think that that sends a message to our children?
It does. I mean, look at what they did with GameStop. Look at what they did with AMC. Like, it's kids that are just jumping into everything, and because of their kids, their parents are jumping into it as well. So you're seeing that, and again, I talked about this before. It's the trend. If you see that like a celebrity's talking about something, and then the child is interested, the child's going to tell the parent. The parent's going to be like, "All right, let's try it. Let's put a little bit of money in this project, and then if it works out, it works out." And as we've seen, a lot of these things have been panning out for a lot of these risk takers, and that's something that I'm really fascinated by, because it's all about taking risks, and this is all just a brand new space. So it just depends on the level of risk and how fast you want to see those returns, to be honest.
Richie?
Yeah, so I'm very interested in risk. It's one of my favorite things to kind of discuss and talk about at the moment, because one of the things that I think is enforcing this growth so much is the people that are a younger group that is coming into this space has also got nothing to lose. You know what I mean? There's that here we've got something, here there's something that we can actually use, that we can actually develop ourselves, that we can actually push forward. The entry price is not exorbitant, and we can swing for the fences. And we're in a market at the moment where everything in this US is growing at the moment. So I think the ability for the young to come in and be risk takers and put their money where their mouth is and see a return from it is is a very interesting place for the dynamic of the youth. And I think it's very powerful, and I think it needs to be watched, because it's a completely different way of thinking and spending that is digitally native. I mean, the growth of esports. I mean, you look at the size of the stadiums in China and so on to get packed around playing video games. And the transition from what entertainment looks like compared to what it looked like, and where what it is going to look like, is an interesting thing to watch, because it's coming from a youth who are now realizing that they've got the numbers and they're prepared to take the risks that's going to make things different at scale. And I think that's a wave of trends to be able to watch, because they're going to knock on as they grow, as more income comes in, as the youth gain more wealth. These fields are going to grow even faster, because that looped return is going to be so much greater, because the speed of the way the asset class is growing. I mean, crypto alone is the fastest growing asset ever. So I think it's fun to see, as I said, from being in the startup world in New York for physical business, and now being in the startup world for meta business and NFT businesses, and the speed that the VCs are coming through, the angel investors are looking at projects, that people with just basic ideas now have access to VCs and angel investors. The gateways to get into those conversations 3-4 years ago were hard. And now every one of those companies is going, hi, you're a creative, you're running something in the metaverse. What do you know? What do you know? Where can you connect me with someone? Where can I put my money? And it blows my mind the speed of the interest from that side, as well as the speed of interest from the creative side. And I think we're sitting in probably a 6 to 10 month period over the next 6 to 10 months, where there's going to be incredible rapid growth as this eyeballs come more and more on at the moment, coming into the Christmas time, and everyone comes indoors again and people spend more time online. And I think that the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to see a lot of very fast growth and a lot of new projects and a lot of bigger money start looking into the space.
I would agree, and I would say not only fast projects, but projects with more depth. And so before we close tonight, and I want to thank so much for Paul King and for Kenny Pasmino and for Richard Morat in joining us. I do have one more question that I want to go around. But before we close, I want to share with you that we're so excited when we do see projects that are fully maturated, fully developed, and represent a sector of the universe that maybe is not in the mainstream. So next week we have a fellow by the name of Emmanuel Ruddock, and Emmanuel runs Black-owned blockchain, Black-owned coin, Black-owned NFT, Black-owned Metaverse, Black-owned project. He is all in, and he's going to share with us next Wednesday night about how they are taking historical figures, so African American history, taking historical figures where the story has been rewritten and altered, and history's been rewritten. They're going back to look at those figures in avatar form and approaching them in an education, entertainment, gamification way to rewrite the correct story of the history of that individual. So, for example, they're going to look at somebody in the Black Panther organization that did a tremendous amount of work in giving food and resources to the inner city, but was represented in the mainstream culture as a vigilante and a renegade and someone to be frightened of. So I'm so excited for Emmanuel Ruddock, and I hope that you'll join me in that. My last question again in closing for tonight. Are you ready? Last question, Paul and Richard and Kenny. Best part of Thanksgiving meal, Friendsgiving meal. Best part of Friendsgiving meal.
Just the fact that I am here in Florida. I'm staying with my best friend in the entire world. I have two friends. It's been a very, very hard year for one of them. The one in Tennessee actually had a heart attack, and then he got Bell's palsy, and then he got late stage diabetes, and he's going through a lot of troubles right now. The one that I'm living with now owns most of the Bahamas, and he's doing okay. But the fact that I have both of these guys in my life, and I love them both so much. I pray for the one in Tennessee. He's got a hard road ahead. But
what's his name, Paul? What's his first
name? His name is Jason.
Thank you.
Yeah, his name is Jason. He's got a hard road ahead. I'm just very blessed. I have my two kids, which is Linus and Charlie. They're two cats. And so just to be here with a roof over my head, my cats are safe. Um, it's just amazing. The best part of the food now, John and I, who John is the one that owns the Exumas, basically. He is a great cook, right? And I spent many Thanksgivings with him, and anything that he cooks is great anyway. But his turkey is fantastic, and I can't wait till tomorrow. All of his family, the family's in for the Bahamas. His other sisters and nieces and nephews, everybody's coming over. It's just going to be a fantastic day. And for me personally, just a lot of rest. I apologize to the audience. I've been tired all night. But I am very thankful to be here. I'm thankful for the two best friends that I have, my two cats in particular. And, like the things that I get to do, this podcast, just it's going to be a great day. And I thank you for asking that question because tomorrow is Thanksgiving. We're excited.
Kenny, best part of Friendsgiving tomorrow.
So I'm going to be spending it with my my wife's family, and then I'm going to spend dessert with my actual family. So I think that the best part is really just going to be around so many people that I really care about. To be honest, as far as food goes, my mother-in-law makes a amazing stuffing. It's from a box, but then it doesn't taste like it's from a box after that when she's done. And then my cousin makes pastries, and she's so good at it. So, but again, it's just being around family, the love of everybody that's really got me going. They love spending time with my two kids. One of them is 16 months, and the other one is 2 months. 2 months old, so they just they light up a room, man. They're so fun to be around, and I just love hanging out with everybody whenever I can.
And Richard.
I think for me, I'm an immigrant to this country, so it's been weird to kind of go, oh, what are these new cultures? What are these new things? And I think the stuff for Thanksgiving for me, it's very much, especially at the moment where we spend so much time glued to a screen and so much time without real people connections. I'm really looking forward to being in the physical presence of the people that I love. And that makes a big difference. It's not just talking to them over Zoom. It's not just that brief little call. It's that I'm going to actually be in the presence of the people that I love tomorrow. And I think that's the one that for me makes the most impact.
Absolutely love it. Gentlemen, thank you for a fantastic hour. It went by so fast. We would love to have you both back another time, perhaps early into 2022. Can't even believe it. And look forward to seeing.
Hold on.
Shauna, real quick, you answer your own question real quick.
Oh, I have a special dinner tomorrow, but I'm spending the day with elephant seals.
Oh, nice.
I'm spending the day with elephant seals, but we do have a special dinner, so we can't wait. I'll tell you more about it.
Okay.
I'm so excited for everybody. Stay strong, stay ever present, stay ever vigilant, and we wish you nothing but the best for a happy holiday and success all the way around.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it's nice hanging out with you guys.
Thank you, Kenny. Good to meet you.